Welcome to Inspire Me with Jay. This is a podcast to inspire, uplift, show forth the love of God, and help usher in the spiritual awakening. Welcome to Inspire Me with Jay. I'm your host, Jay Spillers. Please do like and subscribe to the channel. And I have a guest today, Michael Baker. How are you, Michael?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing good. So,
Hmm.
you had a spiritual experience, didn't you, that changed your life?
Several, yeah, several. It I just over life I've been through a lot of different things and gained a lot of different insights into certain things and become aware of a lot more things and had to really figure out myself and everything. I'm doing a broadcast now.
So, what kind of experiences really woke you up? Like, what was like the first one that really changed your life?
Um, Younger growing up, I dealt with a lot of addiction issues. I went through a lot of that with growing up. Um, Went to my first rehab, back 14, 15 years old. Had my first overdose at 14. And it just a lot of different things. I had to really come to terms with myself and figure out who I was and what I wanted out of life. And then actually doing it, to follow through on what you say you're going to do, and the things that you want to do without letting the fear and the insecurities and the self doubts get to you, and not procrastinating and everything because you don't feel worthy of it, so you don't. So you come up with a million excuses not to do it. You got to stop coming up with them excuses and start doing the things that you need to do for yourself.
Hmm. So, did you start? You became faith based, didn't you? Like, you got into faith.
Yes, I've always had a strong belief in faith and everything, but it wasn't until recently that it actually started working to apply the principles in my life on a daily basis. The open honesty, integrity, and just somebody of your word. Somebody people can count on. If you say you're going to do something, you follow through with it. You don't come up with excuses. Well, this, that, and everything else. You got to, taking responsibility. That's why I tell people. Taking responsibility leads to maturity, and there ain't no authority without having maturity. It's your life. You got to take ownership of it.
Hmm. Well, you wrote a book, didn't you, called "It Is Within You"? Or
Yes, it's within you. It's available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. Um, it's been out a few years now. I'm in the process of revising it because it didn't. The way it came about when I was going through a divorce and everything else like that, and I had put a lot of effort and time into the book and had it done right and everything. I had somebody edit it and everything, and then when I had the original copy of the book completed, we had just got it done, and 2 days later, my house burnt down and I lost everything. So then it was a
mm,
matter of just putting something together because I had everybody waiting, telling everybody it was coming out and everything else like that and everything. So I kind of hodgepodged it together and it didn't come out the way I had wanted it to. And then it wasn't edited and it wasn't really proofread properly before it was published. And there's a lot of errors. And I mean, the message is still there, but it's not what it should have been. I'm in the process of revising it, and then I'm gonna put out a revised issue of it to help people find their
what
faith.
is the
And
message of the book? Hmm.
what was that?
Oh, I was just going to say, what is the message of the book?
To believe in yourself. It's things that through everything that I went through, it was things that when I was writing the original book, it was as if the Lord was speaking to me and through me. And
Hmm.
it just kind of hit me. You got to believe in yourself. And I wrote, like I said, the first original book. It was like as if the Lord directed me through the whole book. Showing me, telling me and explaining things to me and everything. And I put it all in the book and everything. And then when I lost that, and to do it on my own, it was like I was sitting there, and it just kind of the Lord kind of just spoke to me, saying, how how can you say that you believe in me if you don't believe in you? And that's kind of where I was like, wait a minute, okay, well, yeah, I can do this, and I have to believe in myself, and you got to find that within yourself. You got to have the insight and awareness, know who you are and what you stand for and what your values are. Have principles.
Yeah, I got my fucking thing already hit me. It's in here. Like my phone stand back.
So, what are some of the values that you believe about yourself?
Being open, honest, integrity. Being of character, not just not another character out on the street. Not there was a time where most everything I did, I did what everybody thought, what I thought everybody else expected me to do. I tried to live up to the expectations of everybody else rather than my own expectations for myself. We got to get past that. You want to fit in, but you don't want to. You got to stand out. You're your own person. Everybody. We're all. You're the only you they'll ever be. You got to stand up for yourself, and most people have a hard time with that. And I had a hard time with that for a lot of years with the drugs and alcohol and everything else. And my past, I couldn't forgive myself. That was the whole thing, is learning to forgive myself. And it's not the easiest thing to do. Forgiving yourself and learning to take care of yourself. And not be dependent on everybody else. And that's how it was when I was acting and everything else like that. A lot of my family and everybody else, they enabled me to continue doing as I was doing. Everybody else, I blamed everybody else for all my problems. I didn't take responsibility for it. And then when somebody didn't give in to what I wanted and everything else like that, I'd hold resentments towards them and everything else, and I had to let go of all that. I had to take responsibility for myself. I'm where I am in life because of my choices. Nobody made those choices for me. I made the choices that I did, and that's why I'm where I am today. It's because of the choices I have made.
Hmm. What helped you to forgive yourself?
Forgiving others, I had to really look at myself and see that the things that I was having a hard time forgiving other people for were the same things that I myself have done. You know, we hold everybody in judgment of certain things, because to rationalize and justify our own behaviors. That's when something triggers you, you got to ask yourself why. What's causing that? And really, it's a lot of when you're growing up, you repress emotions and everything, and then it's got to be released somewhere. And when the time comes, somebody triggers something, and you go in this emotional explosion, and you're acting off your emotions, not off your intellect. And there's consequences for that. And I had to suffer a lot of the consequences of my actions. And we reap as we have sown, and that's where it come down to when me having to reap as I had sown. And I had to learn to forgive others. In order to forgive them, I had to learn to understand them and see why things happen the way they do.
So, what were like some of the triggers for you?
Insecurities in relationships, things.
Well, what helped you overcome the insecurities?
Faith, developing my faith. reading the scriptures and pursuing the things that I needed to do for myself. I got into life coaching, and I got myself a life coach. I had a life coach for the first few years that I had gotten into it. And I don't know what it was about this person, my mentor. Whatever was going on with me, I could sit there and give him a 20-minute conversation of what was happening and this, that, and everything else. And he'd say 2 or 3 words to me, and it would just click. The light would go off. Like Rich Levine, he says, his podcast, one insight. And that's all it takes is one insight that can change your whole perspective on things. And it's having the awareness of it. Insight, awareness, inspiration. And today, that's where I'm at today, is trying to set the example for others. I have kids that I don't want them to go back and do the same things that I have done. My kids, I see a lot of times they're going down the same road I am, but I try and steer them away from that. But it's like they rather do as I have done rather than do as I say, kind of thing. Because they follow your example.
Mhm.
It's how you lead. You got to set the example for a future generation. It's up to us all.
Are you looking for a devotional that will radically transform your walk with Christ and revolutionize the world at the same time? Check out my latest book, Walk as Children of the Light. This book focuses on everything you need to be fully equipped and discipled in Christ: prayer, meditation, scripture, love, gratitude, and much, much more. Available on Amazon, 5-star rating.
And what we do today, not what I've done in the past, but what I'm doing today, that makes the difference.
Was your life coaching faith-based, the one that was your life coach? And do you bring in faith into your life coaching?
Yes, it's based in biblical principles, applying biblical principles in your life, and that's what it's all about. Applying the principles in all your affairs.
And so, how long have you been a life coach?
I started my practice 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Do you have a lot of people you're mentoring?
Quite a few. Our group is growing. I have my fellowship online. It's Within You Fellowship. We're up to 3,700 group members now, and we reach around the world. We got a worldwide fellowship, and I got a lot of other pastors that are involved in life coaches. And we're just trying to get to have unity. That's what it's all about. Unity. Nobody's as smart as everyone. And we all got to work together, and we can all learn from each other. Everyone can help someone, but we got to help ourselves. And that's why I kind of got into the life coaching, was when I was going through the divorce, and rather than reverting back to the old behaviors of alcohol and drugs and everything, I didn't want to go back to that lifestyle. There were several times in the last 50, I'm 52 years old. There were several times in the last 50 years where I'd be sober. I'd have like 10, 12 years sobriety, and then I'd throw it out when shit would hit the fan. I'm 50 years old. This is my third time starting over again from nothing. And I don't want to keep going through the same patterns. That's what it is, the patterns of behaviors, recognizing the patterns. It's not what we do today, it's what we do every day that's going to make the difference. It's our behaviors and our patterns of behavior. Everything cycles.
Mm-hmm.
You got to learn
Like if
to
someone came to you,
recognize it.
oh, go ahead.
I
Like if
was saying,
someone came to you, oh, go ahead.
go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, if someone came to you and they said, "I'm down and I'm broke, and I just feel like a failure," what would you tell them to do first?
First thing would to get them out of that mindset, and start making a list of things to be grateful for. You got to keep the attitude of gratitude. The Lord wants you to come to Him with a thankful heart. And that's where it's at. You got to. Everything happens for a reason, but we don't know it at the time. But everything plays its part. We all play our part. in the lives of everybody that we're in communication with.
Yeah, I've had a lot of guests on that talk about the importance of gratitude and how it can change your life.
And going back to what I was saying before, when I didn't want to revert back to those old behaviors, I actually got the help that I actually needed the most by trying to help others. Because I joined a bunch of groups with people that were going through alcoholism and going through divorce and been through the same things I had been through. And I'd comment on things and stuff like that, and people started coming to me for help, looking for advice and stuff. And I couldn't advise anybody else to do for themselves what I wasn't willing to do for myself, and that took a lot for me to really look at that and have to say, wait a minute, well, how can I tell this person to do this if I'm not willing to do it for myself, and that's what it comes down to. I got the help that I needed by seeking to help others.
Mm-hmm. So, do you do like one-on-one counseling with people?
Yeah, it's mainly one-on-one, but then we do some group coaching and counseling as well. It depends on the person what their ambitions are, what their desired outcome is. Some of the stuff I do pro bono. Like discipleship training and servant leadership, I do that pro bono, and sponsorship with addiction and stuff like that. I do that. I don't charge for that. The only thing that where I charge is for actual life coaching, somebody looking for personal development, or if they're looking to scale their business or something like that, then yes, that's something I would charge for, because that's something they're going to gain from. If it's going to increase their sales and their productivity and everything, then yeah, I mean, you got to know your worth and not settle for less. And I did that for a lot of years. I always belittled myself and sold myself short, in a lot of areas, and I'm not doing that to myself today. I know who I am, and I know what I'm worth, and I know what my values are.
Mm-hmm. Did you do like a program to become a life coach, or?
I took several of the training courses online, and I got involved in a lot of the challenges, and I worked with Kane McCullum was my life coach and my mentor. And then I did a lot of work with the Mike Aguilera, the CEO Warrior Group. I worked with them quite a bit. And I've done a lot of podcasts with Russ Johns. A lot of people I've worked with. A lot of the field, but I've been studying the field of personal development and self help for over 30 some years. When I went to my first rehab back when I was 14, 15 years old, somebody had bought me the book by Norman Vincent Peale, The Power of Positive Thinking, and that kind of just stuck with me throughout most of my life, and then now when I study that more, and find out Norman Vincent Peale, he was actually from the same town I grew up in. He in Poland, New York, he's got his Center for Positive Living and everything, and I didn't realize that all these people that in the field were all people that I had met, but I didn't really associate with it at the time because I was too busy with my own BS at the time, doing my own thing. And but then years later, when I look back on it, it's like, wait a minute, okay, I grew up, this is where I grew up at, and I didn't pay attention to all these people that were here right in the area, and I learned a lot from others. I study a lot from Jim Rohn, John Maxwell. I study a lot from John Maxwell. I do a lot of stuff with his podcast and stuff. Tony Robbins, Napoleon Hill. I've been studying, like I said, I've been studying the works of the most famous people in the field for the last 30 something years. And now it's just applying the knowledge, more or less. Now it's applying the principles of it. And that's where I'm at today, is application of the principles, learning to apply everything. And we learn more every day, every day something more is revealed to us. You got to be willing to learn, and that's the whole thing. we can't be that kid on the block, that thinks he knows everything, and that's kind of the way I was for a lot of years. I didn't want to listen to anybody. I thought I knew everything, and it took a lot for me to actually sit back and actually be willing to learn.
Yeah, because I think Jim Rohn was Tony Robbins'
Yep.
mentor. That's the one that inspired him.
Yeah, and then Earl Schoaf started with Jim Rohn. Yeah, I studied a lot of everybody. Everybody has their mentors. You can follow the list right on back down the line. Everybody's got to start somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Like, where should somebody start if they're interested in improving their life? Like, what direction would you point them in?
Well, you'd have to. You kind of like goes right back to the Think and Grow Rich and Napoleon Hill. You got to start off with having a definiteness of purpose. Having a purpose provides direction. You got to have that definiteness of purpose. You got to have clarity. You got to have a vision. Everything starts with a vision. And it starts with how you see yourself. And that's the hardest thing to change is how you see yourself, your vision of yourself and your future. What you're capable of.
So, what's like one final word you would leave the audience with?
Set the example and be the inspiration for the future generation. It's up to us all.
Mm-hmm.
People look up, whether we realize it or not, there's people out there that look up to us, to all of us. We all have kids, we all in the community. It takes unity to build a community. We gotta get out of the isolation and the separation and the desperation, that leads to the addictions. You gotta build a connection. Build a connection. It takes unity to build a community.
And so, where can people reach out to you if they want to get a hold of you?
The It's Within You Facebook group of spiritual guidance. It's on there. They can DM me on there. I'm on LinkedIn also. You can look up Mike Baker on LinkedIn, Instagram. You look up Mike Baker on Instagram or LinkedIn or Facebook. The Facebook, It's Within You. That's where I'm most active on. That's where I have the biggest following and the most engagement. That's where I'm the most engaged at. That's where people have the best chances of getting a hold of me and actually talking with me and setting something up. In my group, I post on there my Calendly links where if somebody wants to just schedule an appointment, they can just go on there, go to the Calendly link and schedule a call, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, well, thanks for being on today. It was a pleasure to have you.
Oh, it was a pleasure being on here. Thank you for having me.
Have you ever wondered whether the Bible was compatible with a near-death experience? In my book, Heaven's Truth, the parallels between the Bible and the near-death experience, your faith will be strengthened while you support this channel. In Heaven's Truth, you will learn about near-death experiences and other similar experiences in the Bible. Support for the Bible contained in NDEs, a central theme that runs through both the Bible and NDEs. How the NDE brings the Bible to life for these modern times. Evidence for both the Bible and the NDE, and much more. Great book. Spillers does an excellent job weaving the relationship between NDEs and the scriptures. 5 stars on Amazon, available on Amazon.